The space station floated in the endless dark like a lonely island in the sea. Ships came and went, carrying goods, soldiers, and wanderers. But inside one small apartment on the lower level, a man sat alone. His name was Daniel. He was not old, not young. But his face carried the weight of someone who had lived too many years without joy. Daniel's days were the same. He woke, he worked, he ate, he slept. The galaxy was wide, full of wonders, but to him it all felt empty. He had no family, no friends, no one waiting for him. Sometimes he wondered if anyone would even notice if he disappeared. That night, after a long shift, Daniel walked through the crowded markets of the station. Neon lights glowed above shops. Aliens of many shapes passed by, tall, short, scaled, furred. Traders shouted, food smells mixed in the air. But Daniel's eyes were caught by one sign he had never noticed before. The sign glowed red and silver. Alien companions for rent. He stopped. His first thought was to walk away. This was not for him. He was not the type of man to spend money on such things. But loneliness whispered in his ear. Curiosity burned in his mind. Before he realized it, his feet had carried him inside. The room was dim, filled with soft music. A tall man with sharp eyes greeted him. "Looking for company?" The man asked with a smile that was not friendly. Daniel hesitated but nodded slowly. "Maybe, just for one night." The man pressed a screen in front of him. Images appeared daily in girls of different worlds, each with strange beauty. But one image froze Daniel's hand. She had silver blue skin, hair like white silk, and eyes that glowed faintly with light. Not bright, not cold, just sad. Like the night sky before dawn. "I'll take her," Daniel said before he could stop himself. The owner's smile widened. "Good choice. She is special." Moments later, the door opened. She stepped in quietly, almost like a shadow. Daniel's heart beat faster. She was more beautiful in real life than the picture. But what struck him was not her beauty, was her silence. She looked at him, then lowered her gaze, as if afraid to meet his eyes. "Hello," Daniel said softly. She nodded, tea, but did not speak. They sat in his small apartment, the air heavy with quiet. Daniel poured 2 cups of warm drink and offered one to her. She accepted, holding it with delicate fingers. For a while, they only sat across from each other. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. "Why did you choose me?" Daniel blinked. "I don't know." "You looked different. Lonely." Her lips curved, not quite a smile. Then you saw the truth. For the first time that night, their eyes met. Daniel saw something in her gaze: fear, sadness, but also a spark of hope. "What's your name?" he asked. "They don't let us keep our names," she answered. "But once, long ago, I was called Lyra." The word felt strange and beautiful. "Lyra." She looked around his room, then leaned closer. Her voice dropped lower. "You should not trust the owners. They are always watching." Daniel frowned. "Watching? Why?" Her hand brushed the side of her neck. There, hidden under her hair, was a small, glowing chip. "Because we are not free. We are controlled. Every step, every word." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. He had thought this was just business, just a service. But now he saw the truth in her trembling hands, in her frightened eyes. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. "Because," she whispered, "I don't want to be here." "And you? You don't look like the others. You look kind." Silence filled the room again. Daniel's mind raced. He had come here because he was lonely. He had only wanted company for one night. But now he felt something different, a heavy pull inside his chest. He could not stop looking at her. She was not just an alien girl. She was someone trapped, someone desperate to be free. The night passed slowly. They talked little, but every word felt heavy with meaning. When she left, Daniel felt emptier than before. Her eyes stayed in his mind, glowing like stars he could not reach as the door closed. He whispered to himself, "Why do I feel like this is only the beginning?" And deep inside, he knew his life had just changed forever. The door closed softly behind Lyra. And for a long moment, Daniel only stood there. The small apartment felt different now. It was no longer just walls of metal and a broken chair. It felt alive because she was inside. Lyra sat carefully, on the edge of his old couch, her hands folded in her lap. She did not move much. Her silver-blue skin shimmered faintly under the dim light. Like the glow of a hidden moon, Daniel tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat. He had never been good with people, not humans, not aliens. But something about her silence pressed against him, asking for more than empty words. He finally said, "You can relax. I'm not here to hurt you." Lyra looked up. Her glowing eyes searched his face, studying him. "You are not like the others," she whispered. Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" "They don't look at me," she said, her voice trembling. "They don't see me. They only see what they've paid for. But you looked at me." Her words hit him harder than he expected. He poured her another cup of warm drink and handed it over. She held it carefully, almost like it was something precious. For a while, they sat in silence, listening to the hum of the station outside. Then Lyra asked softly, "Why are you alone?" The question startled him. He had not thought about it for a long time. Maybe because the answer was too painful, I guess. "I never found where I belong," Daniel said slowly. "People leave. Places change. In the end, it's just me." Lyra lowered her eyes. "Then we are the same." The room grew heavy with that truth. Two lonely souls, one human, one alien meeting by chance. Or maybe by something greater. Daniel leaned forward. "Lyra, the chip on your neck. What is it really?" Her hand brushed it again, fear flashing across her face. "It binds me. It tracks me. If I run, it burns. If I speak too much, it punishes." Daniel's chest tightened. "That's slavery." She nodded, her voice breaking. "I was taken from my home. My people, they are far away. They think I am dead." Her words painted a picture Daniel could almost see, a world of shining skies. A girl laughing with her family, then ripped away, sold across the stars. Daniel's hands curled into fists. He hated himself for being part of it, Tevin, if only for one night. But Lyra reached out, her fingers brushing his hand. "Don't blame yourself. You are different." "I can feel it." The touch was light, but it burned through him like fire. He swallowed hard, not knowing what to say. Then something strange happened. She leaned closer and whispered, "Do you want to know a secret?" Daniel nodded. Lyra opened her palm. Inside, hidden until now, was a small crystal shard. It glowed faintly like a piece of a star. "This holds my memories," she said. "The owners don't know I still have it. If they find it, they will destroy it. But I keep it because it reminds me who I am." Daniel stared at the shard, feeling the weight of it. "Why show me this?" Her voice cracked. "Because for the first time in years, I feel like someone might actually care." The words cut through him like a blade. He wanted to speak, to promise something, but fear held him back. What could he promise? He was just one man against an entire station of criminals. Lyra leaned back, hiding the crystal again. Her glowing eyes stayed on him. "Please, don't tell anyone." "I won't," Daniel said firmly. "I swear." The night stretched on. They talked in fragments, small stories, broken dreams. She told him about her planet, about skies filled with music, about oceans that glowed under the moons. Daniel told her about Earth, about nights under cold rain, about how he once dreamed of being a pilot but never had the chance. Somewhere in those quiet hours, something shifted. It was no longer about loneliness or payment or curiosity. It was about connection. When the station clock struck morning, Lyra stood slowly. The owners would expect her back. She looked at Daniel one last time, her eyes glowing brighter than before. "Thank you," she whispered, "for treating me like a person." Daniel wanted to stop her. He wanted to say, "Stay," but the words stuck in his throat. He could only watch as she left, the door sliding shut behind her. The silence that followed was crushing. But inside Daniel's heart, a new fire had begun to burn. He whispered to himself, "This isn't over." Not yet. And though he didn't know how, he knew one thing for sure. Lyra's story had just become his own. The next day, Daniel could not work. His hands moved through the motions, fixing wires and tightening bolts in the docking bay, but his mind was far away. Every time he blinked, he saw her Lyra's glowing eyes, her trembling hands, the crystal shard hidden in her palm. When his shift ended, instead of going home, he walked toward the market levels again. The neon lights seemed brighter, sharper, as if the whole station was watching him. He told himself it was foolish. He had rented her for one night. That should have been the end. But something deep inside whispered, "Go back." The red Dan silver sign was still there. Alien companions for rent. The same sharp-eyed owner greeted him with that thin smile. "Back so soon?" Daniel tried to sound casual. I want the same girl, Lyra." The man's smile faded slightly. "She is popular, but expensive." "Are you sure?" Daniel handed over his credits without another word. He didn't care about the price. Minutes later, Lyra entered the small, private room. She looked surprised to see him again. Her eyes widened, then softened. "You came back." Daniel nodded. "I had to." For a moment, they simply looked at each other. Then Lyra sat across from him, her voice low. "Why?" "Most men never ask for the same girl twice. Because I can't stop thinking about you," Daniel admitted. "And because I need to know the truth." Her lips parted slightly, as if she wanted to argue. But then her shoulders sank. She reached into her sleeve and pulled out the crystal shard. Its faint glow lit the shadows of the room. "This is my secret," she said softly. "Do you really want to see it?" Daniel leaned forward. "Yes." Lyra pressed the shard to his forehead. For a second, nothing happened. Then his vision blurred. The room dissolved into light. He saw a sky with two suns, oceans glowing blue-green, towers that shone like crystal. He saw a younger Lyra laughing with friends, running across silver fields. He felt the warmth of her world, the joy of her people. Then darkness. Ships falling from the sky, chains, screams. Lyra crying out as strangers tore her away. The memory burned into him, sharp and cruel. Daniel gasped as the vision ended. He staggered back, his heart pounding. "They kidnapped you." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "Yes, my people are warriors of light, but I was young, untrained. They took me and sold me here. The chip keeps me weak. It stops my powers. Without it, I could fight. But with it, I am nothing." Daniel's fists clenched. Anger boiled in his chest. He looked at her, this fragile girl forced to act like property. And he hated himself for ever paying those credits. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I shouldn't have." Lyra shook her head, stopping him. "No, you listened. That's more than anyone else has done." She hid the shard again, her hands shaking. "But you must be careful. If the owner even suspects you know, he will kill you." He doesn't want truth, only obedience. Daniel sat in silence, his mind racing. The safe thing would be to walk away. Forget her. Pretend this never happened. But he couldn't. "Lyra," he said, his voice steady now. "You're not property. You're not just some alien girl they rent out. You're someone who deserves freedom." Her eyes widened. For a moment, she looked at him as if he had spoken words from another world. "Do you mean that?" "Yes." His voice was firm, stronger than he felt inside. "I'll help you. I don't know how yet, but I will." Tears slid down her silver cheeks. She reached out and grabbed his hand tightly, her grip surprisingly strong. "No one has ever said that to me. Not once." The moment felt fragile, like glass. But Daniel knew it was real. A knock shattered the silence. The owner's voice came through the door. "Time's almost up." Lyra's hand trembled in his. She whispered quickly, "Don't speak of this." "Not yet." "Promise me." "I promise," Daniel said. The door opened. The owner's cold eyes scanned them. Lyra stood quickly, her face calm, her posture obedient. She looked like nothing more than a quiet companion, but Daniel now knew the truth as she walked out. She glanced back once, her glowing eyes full of silent hope. Daniel felt his chest tighten. His life had been empty before, but now it was filled with a dangerous secret. And he knew one thing for certain. There was no going back. Daniel lay awake in his small apartment, staring at the ceiling. The hum of the station's engines echoed faintly through the walls, but he barely heard it. His mind was filled with one thing, Lyra. Her voice haunted him. "We are not free. The chip binds us. My people think I am dead." The crystal memory had burned itself into the skies of her world. The laughter, the sudden terror when she was taken. He could not forget it. He didn't want to forget it, but with every memory came the same heavy question. What will you do now? He could walk away. Pretend nothing happened. Pretend she was just another alien girl, just another face in the crowd. That choice was safe. That choice meant living. Or he could fight. He could try to free her. But that path was dangerous. It meant crossing men who owned half the station, men who would kill him without a second thought. Lying there in the dark, Daniel whispered to himself, "If I do nothing, she dies in chains. If I try, maybe we both die." The choice tore at him. The next evening, his feet carried him once again to the red Dan Silver sign. The owner's sharp eyes glinted when he saw him. Back again. "You must like this one more than the others." Daniel forced a smile. "Yeah, I'll take her again." Credits exchanged hands. Once more, Lyra stepped into his small room. This time, her face lit up when she saw him. For a moment, the sadness faded. "You came back," she whispered. Daniel nodded. His voice was heavy with the weight of his decision. "I had to. I made a choice." Lyra tilted her head. "What choice?" "I can't walk away," Daniel said. His hands trembled, but his words were steady. "I don't care about the danger. I don't care what it costs me. I'm going to help you. I'm going to get you out of here." Lyra froze. Her glowing eyes widened, disbelief flooding her face. "You? You mean it?" "Yes." He leaned closer. "I don't know how yet, but I swear I'll find a way." For the first time since he had met her, Lyra smiled. A real smile, bright and full of hope. It transformed her face, made her look less like a prisoner and more like the girl she had once been. But then fear shadowed her features. "Daniel, you don't understand. These men, they are not just criminals. They own ships, weapons, guards. They will kill you if they even suspect." "I don't care," Daniel said firmly. "You deserve freedom. And I can't just sit back and watch you suffer." Her hands shook as she covered her mouth. Tears gathered in her eyes, but this time they were not only tears of sadness. They were tears of hope, she whispered. No one has ever chosen me before. They only bought me, rented me, used me. But you choose me. The words hit Daniel like fire in his chest. He reached out and held her hand. Her fingers were cold, trembling, but they squeezed back with surprising strength. We'll need a plan, Lyra said quietly, glancing at the door. If you act too soon, they will stop you. You must be clever. Careful, Daniel nodded. Tell me what to do. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Buy me, not just for a night. Buy my contract forever. That way, they won't suspect. They'll think you are just another man who wanted to keep his toy. Daniel's eyes narrowed. And once I own your contract... Her eyes glowed brighter. Then we plan the escape. Then we run. The words sent a chill down his spine. Buying her contract meant becoming part of the system he hated. But it was the only way to get close enough to free her. He nodded slowly. Then that's what I'll do. Lyra gripped his hand tighter. If you fail, we both die. Daniel looked straight into her eyes. Then I won't fail. The door knocked, suddenly 3 sharp raps. The owner's voice followed. Time's up. Lyra pulled away quickly, her face returning to calm obedience. But as she stood to leave, she gave Daniel one last look. A look filled with trust, fear, and something deeper. The door closed. Daniel was left alone again. But this time, the silence felt different. Heavy, yes, but not hopeless. Because he had made his choice, he would not be the man who walked away. He would be the man who fought. The next day, Daniel walked into the market with steady steps, though his heart hammered like a war drum. The neon glow of the station felt sharper than ever. Every corner looked dangerous now. Every eye seemed to watch him. He reached the red and silver shop. The owner leaned on the counter, smiling thinly. Back again. He asked. Daniel swallowed. I want her contract. Not just for a night. Forever. The man's eyebrows rose. Forever, that is. Not cheap. I'll pay. Daniel said. His voice was calm, though his stomach twisted inside. He had been saving credits for years, hoping one day to buy a ship of his own. But now, he pushed every credit across the counter. The owner counted, then gave a slow grin. Done. She is yours. Just remember, no refunds. Behind him, Lyra stepped into the room. Her glowing eyes widened when she saw Daniel. She had expected another rented night. But when the owner said, she belongs to you now, her whole body froze. For a moment, she didn't breathe. Then she turned her gaze to Daniel, shock and hope mixing in her face. Later, in Daniel's small apartment, she spoke in a whisper, her hands trembling. You did it. You bought me. Daniel nodded. Yes, but not to own you, to free you. Her eyes glistened with tears. She reached out, her fingers brushing his arm. No one has ever risked this much for me. Daniel leaned forward. Now we plan. Tell me what we need to do. Lyra lowered her voice. The chip is the first problem. As long as it controls me, I am weak. We must find a way to remove it. Can it be done? Daniel asked. Yes, she said, but only with special tools deep in the medical decks. And they are guarded. Daniel's mind raced. Then we'll need codes. Access passes. Lyra nodded. And a ship. A small one. Something fast, before they know I'm gone. It sounded impossible. Codes, tools, a ship haul under the noses of men who would kill them both. But Daniel only nodded. We'll find a way. Over the next days, the plan began to form in shadows. Daniel traded his few possessions for stolen data chips. He bribed a drunken guard for access codes. He studied the patrol routes of the station, memorizing every detail. Lyra guided him, whispering secrets she had learned in years of captivity. They move prisoners on the 3rd rotation. The guards drink on the 6th. The medics leave at dawn. Together, they pieced the puzzle. But danger was close. Daniel could feel it in the way the owner's eyes followed him now. He sensed suspicion growing one evening. As Daniel walked Lyra through the crowded market, the owner suddenly appeared, his smile sharp as a blade. "You seem very attached to this one," he said. Daniel forced a laugh. "What can I say? She's special." The man's eyes narrowed. "Careful. Men who grow too attached sometimes forget the rules, and rules keep this place alive." Lyra's hand tightened around Daniel's arm. She did not speak, but her glowing eyes begged him to stay calm. That night, back in his apartment, Lyra whispered, "They're watching us." "We must move soon." Daniel nodded. His voice was steady. "Then tomorrow night." "We go tomorrow." Lyra stared at him, fear and hope burning together. "If we fail." "We won't," Daniel said firmly. "I promise." The plan was simple but deadly. During the early hours, when the medical deck was least guarded, Daniel would use the stolen codes to break in. He would remove Lyra's chip with stolen tools. Then they would race to the docking bay, where a small cargo ship waited, a ship Daniel had secretly paid for with the last of his credits. It sounded like madness. But madness was better than chains. On the eve of their escape, they sat together in silence. Daniel looked at Lyra, her silver-blue skin glowing faintly in the dark. She looked fragile, yet strong. "Lyra," he whispered, "tomorrow everything changes." She reached out, taking his hand in both of hers. "No, Daniel. It already has." And in that quiet moment, as the station engines hummed around them, they both knew there was no turning back. Tomorrow, they would either taste freedom or die trying. E station slept under dim emergency lights. It was the quiet hour when markets closed and only patrols moved through the halls. But Daniel was not sleeping. He stood outside the medical deck, heart hammering, hands trembling around the stolen pass chip. Beside him, Lyra's glowing eyes shifted nervously. The faint hum of the control chip still pulsed at her neck. "Are you sure?" she whispered. Daniel swallowed hard. "It's now or never." He slid the chip across the panel. A green light blinked, and the door slid open with a hiss. They slipped inside. The medical room was cold, filled with silver tools and humming machines. Daniel moved quickly, grabbing the scanner Lyra had described. She climbed onto the table, lying still, her breathing shallow. "Once you cut the chip," she whispered, "the system will know. They'll be on us. Then we run," Daniel said. His hands shook as he guided the tool to her neck. Sparks of blue light flared as he pressed it against the glowing chip. Lyra gasped in pain, her hands clutching the table. "Almost there," Daniel muttered. The tool beeped. The chip flickered, then popped free, falling onto the table with a metallic clink. Lyra gasped, her whole body trembling. Then her eyes flared bright, brilliant, like twin stars. For the first time, she looked alive. "I can feel it," she whispered, her voice filled with awe. "My strength. It's back." But then alarms screamed. Red lights bathed the room. A cold mechanical voice echoed through the speakers. "Unauthorized removal detected. Security dispatched. Go." Daniel shouted. They burst into the corridor as heavy boots thundered behind them. Guards with black armor rounded the corner, rifles raised. "Stop them." One barked. Daniel grabbed Lyra's hand. "This way." They sprinted through the maze of halls, weaving between shadows. Blaster shots cracked the walls, sparks flying. Lyra glanced back, her eyes blazing. For the first time, She raised her hand. Light shimmered between her fingers, then exploded outward in a blinding flash. The guards screamed, dropping their weapons as the light seared their visors. Daniel stared, stunned. What was that?" Lyra's voice was fierce. "A piece of who I am." They ran again, racing down metal stairs. More guards swarmed ahead, blocking the path to the docking bay. Daniel's heart sank. Too many, no way through. But Lyra stepped forward, her eyes burning brighter than fire. She raised both hands, and a wave of shimmering energy blasted outward. The floor shook. Guards were thrown against the walls like ragdolls. "Come on!" She shouted. Daniel followed, his chest burning from the sprint, his mind racing. He had never seen power like hers. She wasn't just an alien, she was something far greater. The docking bay was in sight now. The small cargo ship Daniel had paid for sat waiting, its engines cold. But then a voice echoed across the bay, sharp and cruel. "Daniel." The owner stepped out from the shadows, surrounded by armored guards. His thin smile was gone. His eyes were full of fury. "You think you can steal from me?" he hissed. "She belongs here. She belongs to me." Daniel stood tall, though fear twisted inside him. "She doesn't belong to you. She belongs to herself." The owner raised a hand. The guards aimed their rifles. "Kill him. Take her alive." But before they could fire, Lyra stepped forward. Her whole body glowed now, light pouring from her skin. Her voice rang across the bay, strong and defiant. "I am not yours. I am Lyra of the Twin Suns, and I will never be chained again." The light exploded outward in a storm. The bay shook violently. Guards screamed, blinded, weapons torn from their hands. Even the owner staggered back, shielding his eyes. Daniel pulled Lyra toward the ship. Now, they raced up the ramp. Daniel slammed the controls, engines roaring to life. The ship shuddered as the docking clamps resisted. But then, with a violent snap, they broke free. The bay doors opened. Alarms screaming across the station. Outside, the black sea of space waited. The cargo ship shot forward, slipping through the stars as the station shrank behind them. Inside the cockpit, Daniel collapsed into the pilot's chair, gasping for breath. Lyra stood beside him, her eyes still glowing, her face fierce and alive. "We did it," Daniel said, his voice breaking with relief. Lyra touched his shoulder, her hand warm, strong. "No," she whispered. "We only began." And as the ship streaked into the endless dark, Daniel knew she was right. The chase was over, but the war had just begun. The stars stretched endless outside the small cargo ship. For the first time in years, Lyra looked at space not as a prison, but as freedom. She stood at the window, her silver-blue skin glowing softly under the starlight. Daniel sat in the pilot's chair, hands trembling against the controls. He was no trained captain, just a mechanic with stolen codes and shaky courage. But somehow, they were alive. Somehow, they had escaped. Silence filled the cabin, heavy but peaceful. Finally, Lyra turned to him. Her eyes glowed gently, no longer weighed down by fear. "You saved me," she whispered. Daniel shook his head. "No, you saved yourself. I only gave you a chance." Lyra stepped closer, her voice firm. "No, Daniel, you chose me. When no one else would, you did. That means more than you know." Her words sank deep into him. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, invisible, a man who could disappear without anyone noticing. But to her, he had become something else, someone who mattered. The ship jolted as warning lights blinked on the screen. Daniel cursed softly. "They're scanning. Patrol ships. The station must have sent a signal." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "We can't let them find us. If they capture us, everything is lost. Daniel's hands shook as he tried to guide the ship through a debris field. Metal fragments of old battleships drifted silently, lit by distant suns. The cargo vessels scraped and shuddered, alarms blaring. "Hold on," he shouted as shadow passed over them one of the patrol cruisers. It was massive, bristling with weapons. Any second, it could fire. Lyra placed a hand on the console. Her eyes glowed brighter, energy rippling across her skin. The ship's systems flickered, then surged with strange light. Daniel stared. "What are you?" Her voice was calm, steady. "I am giving it a piece of myself." Guiding it, the ship moved sharper, faster, weaving between debris like it was alive. The patrol cruiser lost sight of them, its sensors confused. Within moments, they slipped into the shadows of an asteroid field. Silence returned. Daniel exhaled shakily. That was impossible. Lyra smiled faintly. Not impossible. Just forgotten. My people are bound to the stars. We are meant to guide, not to be chained. Daniel looked at her, his chest tight. Then you're not just free now. You're home again. Lyra's glowing eyes softened. Not yet. But I will be. She reached out, her fingers brushing his cheek. And I will never forget who gave me back my wings. For a long moment, neither spoke. The hum of the engines filled the silence, steady and alive. Finally, Daniel said, "Where do we go now?" Lyra glanced at the stars, her gaze distant. "My people are far across the galaxy. The journey will be long. But with this ship, and with you, I am not afraid." Daniel smiled weakly. "I've never been a hero, Lyra. I'm just a mechanic." She shook her head. "Not anymore. You are the man who defied chains. The man who chose love over fear." Her words struck deep. More powerful than any weapon, for the first time. Daniel allowed himself to imagine a future not of empty days, but of stars, of journeys, of someone by his side. He whispered, "Then let's not go back. Not to Earth, not to the station. Let's go forward, anywhere, together." Lyra's smile grew, soft but radiant. Together, she agreed. She leaned closer, pressing her forehead gently against his. Her voice was barely a whisper. "You didn't just rent me for a night, Daniel. You gave me forever." The stars outside flared brighter as the ship carried them deeper into the unknown. And though the galaxy was full of danger, full of enemies waiting in the shadows, Daniel and Lyra faced it not as prisoner and rescuer, not as man and alien, but as two souls bound by choice, by freedom, by love. The forever bond had begun.